In football transfer news today, Man United have finally reached an agreement with RB Leipzig to sign Benjamin Sesko. Massive story to discuss today, my friends. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Subscribe if you haven't, and always leave your thoughts and opinions on today's biggest stories. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's tackle today's latest reports. And we start with the big news, but Man United today have reached an agreement to sign Benjamin Sesko. That fee is totaling around 76.5 million euros, around 66.4 million pounds, with an additional 8.5 million euros in add-ons, taking the total deal to around 85 million euros. Now, I shouldn't be laughing, but you have to feel a bit sympathetic towards Newcastle, because Newcastle actually presented the better offer. Their fixed initial fee was 82.5 million euros with an additional 2.5 million in add-ons. This was accepted by RB Leipzig. However, the player in Sesko did not want to sign for Newcastle, even though they could offer him Champions League football. Even though, under Eddie Howe, the system, the tactics do complement his game quite a lot. But in the end, the pedigree of Man United, and I'm assuming the ambition that United are showing in the market right now, makes him a better long-term option to partner with and stay with. I guess the reality would be for Benjamin Sesko, if he was to remain at a Newcastle, if he was successful, it becomes a lot harder to leave them. Look at Alexander Isak. It can't be the most encouraging club to sign for, knowing that you can get priced out for moves that you want. So I think it probably makes sense for Man United. Humbling window for Newcastle. But United are signing a player that I have to admit probably makes quite a bit of sense for them. With Amorim's emphasis on transitional play, he was absolutely brilliant with this. Whilst being the manager at Sporting Lisbon. In Cunha, in Mbeumo, in Sesko, they have a potent, physical, fast, devastating transitional front three, which personally I think is going to cause quite a lot of problems here in this league. Now, if you guys are unaware, I am a Chelsea fan, and Sesko was originally in my top 3 strikers that I wanted to see at the football club, because even though there are still some refinements he needs to make in his game, he's only just turned 22 years old. Obviously, he is not there just yet. He has these uncoachable qualities and strengths to his game that, for me, make him a potential top 10, top 5 striker in Europe. Not only is he blessed physically at 6'5", he is stupidly fast. Top 3 for Bundesliga for kilometers run per hour. It's nuts. His physical strength, I don't think he's got enough credit for his improvements in his hold-up play last season. Now, yes, he was quite susceptible to being selfish, but I think sometimes when you're a player who is destined to be the next one, right, you're using your RB Leipzigs as the platform clubs in which you first signed them with them for. That was the whole point. So, of course, there were moments where he should have been, finding his teammates first, not spamming shots for fun. But at the same time, this is his opportunity to use RB Leipzig as his finishing school. When you're blessed with one of the most powerful shots in Europe, yeah, I think at this raw age, when you want to refine and hone your craft, you're going to spam shots when and where you can, because you have the quality to pull them off. And boy, has he produced that time and time again at a very young age. But I think with Sesko, he's very physical, very strong. He can ride challenges. He's deceptively techie. He's one of those forwards that has the footwork, do the Cruyff turns, a few step overs, yeah, close controls in tight areas. He does have that. And it's up to Amorim now to utilize Sesko in the best way possible. And for me, that's going to be using him transitionally. I think with United's defense, if you're still using Maguire, if you've got De Ligt, if you've got Luke Shaw, your back 3 doesn't necessarily allow you to push your lines up as high as you want. You have to respect that. You have to complement the team around that. So for United, it might make more sense to use the box quality defending that they do have and look to play more transitionally. I think United, even though they're spending quite a lot of money, the goal isn't to win the league. And I don't think the goal is to even guarantee a Champions League spot. I think if you get a European spot, this is the best option for you right now. But using this window to start to solidify some of the foundations for the future, this is the right type of strategy. And I think United's strategy to focus on rebuilding the attack first, instead of maybe focusing entirely on a defense and a midfield, goals win you games. And those goals hopefully make United's gamble work and helps them climb up the table and helps them at least secure a European spot. I think if you get a Conference League spot, that's respectable. I think Chelsea Football Club have made the Conference League a very sexy competition. It's essentially the European equivalent of the Carabao Cup. And I think Amorim, with his desires to remain at United for 20 years, it's ambitious, but it's not impossible. He needs to develop his ideas and strategies over the course of a full season now. So I think getting the attack ready and then slowly building around it probably makes the most sense at this point in time. Anyway, Benjamin Sesko, of course, is set to become Man United's football player. How are you guys feeling about the story? Of course, terms agreed. He is going to be there and he is going to sign a contract until 2030. So that's a good 5 years. I think allegedly there's like an option to extend the deal as well. So it's looking very promising if you're a Man United fan. So in the comments right now, share your thoughts and opinions. Are you now feeling reinvigorated for the season? Are you feeling more optimistic? Do you think this is the move of your window so far? I have to admit, I can't believe that I'm seeing Sesko go into Man United. I actually thought he'd be more likely to remain at Leipzig for another season before making a move. I thought he might try to at least break the 20-goal barrier in the Bundesliga first and wait for more options to become accessible to him in the following window. So I think this is a big coup for Man United to secure one of the best young strikers, the most premium young strikers Europe has to offer. So share your thoughts and opinions on that story. But now let's discuss some more Man United news. And we've learned that Man United have made fresh inquiries for the services of Carlos Baleba. Now, this news broke last night. I'm sure you United fans can't believe what you're reading right now. You were getting a bit apprehensive with the state of your window. Yeah, you've made some good buys. I think the longevity behind that Mbeumo deal getting finalized in the end was starting to drag on a bit too much, and you cannot overpay for his services in the end. But it did seem like your club was pretending to be poor. The options for investment do exist, and United now are prioritizing securing their squad more over even selling players first, which is what you have to do right now to accommodate this type of spending. But regardless, United made contact with Brighton and their intermediaries over the possibilities to explore a deal for Carlos Baleba. Now, the 21-year-old has 3 years left on his Brighton contract. He is highly sought after, highly revered. His contract expires in 2028, and there is a 12-month option to extend as well. But the reality is, and I'm just saying it for what it is, Brighton are a selling club. That is part of their business model. So if the money is right, and listen, you have to pay a premium for their best talents, they will find a way to sell if that option does in fact open up. Now, Baleba hasn't ruled out the potential to maybe play for Man United. I don't think he'll force anything right now, because the reality simply is this: there's an opportunity that United might not be able to secure the services of Baleba because of the investment they've now splashed out on for Benjamin Sesko. But I guess putting feelers out there, maybe selling players now. Garnacho being the next one who probably has to go. Pure PSR move. Getting as much money for him as possible, as well as selling other players within the squad, could potentially open up avenues where United might make a late move for a Baleba. If you're a United fan, I'm sure you guys are watching this space with big attention. But in terms of the offers right now, it's believed that Brighton would want around 80 million plus 10 million in add-ons, around 90 million pounds, which is pretty similar to the valuation they once placed on Moises Caicedo, but it took a ridiculous bidding war between Chelsea and Liverpool, where the price for Caicedo rose and rose and rose to the 120 mil that it eventually became. I don't think any club has the money for Baleba, which probably works in United's favour. But outside of that, I'd be very surprised if United really did push for this move right now, and if they had the finances to do so. Now, unless maybe Mainu decides to bounce, they get an offer for him. Garnacho goes. A few other guys in that United squad would probably have to bounce. Højlund, can he get a move back to Italy? They're probably the only ways really that bring that possibility for United to fund a move. But in terms of what United really need, midfield is one of the key things. When Amorim was at Sporting Lisbon, there was big emphasis on midfield players that had legs. Højlund, who they signed from, was it Genoa in Italy, played a major part for them, replacing Ugarte. That pivot, that ability to receive from the defense, that ability to have someone that can counter press, a front-footed defender that can add more intensity, that can kind of nullify teams from counter-attacking against you, because that's the thing that United really struggle with. They don't have as many excellent presses that can kind of mitigate the danger before it arrives. That is what they need to add in their squad, and Baleba for sure feels that need. Now, I do want to say this, for all the talent potential he has, and he has that in abundance here, he's still a bit raw. There are going to be games where he gets caught on the ball receiving from his defense. So maybe some of the details aren't there in terms of like body shape and positioning to receive. He still needs to be coached, but Amorim is one of the best managers in Europe at coaching young players, which he's done time and time again whilst being at Sporting Lisbon. So that wouldn't be something that United would have to worry about. And if anything, you're signing someone that's going to be the linchpin in your midfield for at least 5 years minimum. So United all of a sudden making some waves now in this market. Let's see what happens. Do you feel like there is a possibility that United have it in them to bag this deal? Let us know how you're feeling, my friends. But now let's discuss one of the other reports coming out from Europe. And at the moment, Paris Saint-Germain are getting close to capturing both Ilya Zabaryni and Lucas Chevalier. Now, in terms of the goalkeeper, they have reached an agreement up to 40 mil euros, 5-year deal for their long-term target. This should spell the end for Gianluigi Donnarumma, who does want to remain, but PSG have not been able to find the right contractual balance to keep him here, where Donnarumma wants to have a high fixed fee, low bonus package, and PSG preferred a lower fixed fee salary and higher bonuses, because even though he ended the season excellently last season, he still had that first half of the season midness which he can produce at times, and I don't think that Luis Campos believed that that would be the safest investment of money to give him so much. With Cavalier, you can argue that he's a more well-rounded goalkeeper, very good at distribution. One thing that Donnarumma isn't excellent at, that's maybe one thing that could really improve how PSG break teams down. If you have a goalkeeper that can connect the goal, the defense, and the attack with that distribution. So this is a smart signing for them. Another big move, of course, comes from the fact that they are about to secure their long-term target in Zabaryni. Now, PSG agreed personal terms back in June, like over 6 weeks ago, for his services. That has been agreed for a while. The thing that slowed things down, though, is finding the right package. Now, there was frustration from Bournemouth's sides because they wanted around 63 million originally. The first offer from PSG was around 60 mil. But now, positive news for PSG. I don't know if it's positive news for for Bournemouth, who have lost all their best players in one market. I think this season's looking absolutely long for them. I think their replacements aren't really saying as much either. It's pretty crazy, to be honest with you. But I think Zabaryni is like one of the best young defenders. He's had a massive reputation since he was young. And PSG, there aren't many players that can improve that team. But I think areas they had to improve was a goalkeeper, you could argue. But for sure, a defender. Someone that can act as the long-term successor to Marquinhos. Someone that can maybe replace Beraldo, who, even though he looks promising, I think that maybe the jump up to PSG right now is a bit too high, and he got really exposed in the Club World Cup final against Chelsea. But Zabaryni, who now is Premier League seasoned, tons of experience at a young age, strong aerially, leadership ability. He's been sold for more money than Dean Howson. Great business for PSG. And in the end, they were able to secure him for the 63 million. They did pay that 3 million additional add-on fee. And actually, no, I'm saying this wrong. They're paying a fixed fee of 63 million, no add-ons. That was the key to getting this deal wrapped up and over the line. So Zabaryni is set to go to Paris Saint-Germain. Bournemouth have made a fortune this window, but unfortunately, they've been unable to really reinvest back into their team. But I guess that's the reality of clubs like that, right? You know, you have your peaks and your natural dips, and as long as you don't get relegated, as long as you kind of stay within mid-table obscurity, that's a bit harsh saying obscurity, right? But maintaining that position for a club like Bournemouth in the long term is a lot more financially rewarding compared to, you know, being a yo-yo club, being overly ambitious, and losing out hard in the end. So that's the big news out the way. And finally, to end things with the final report, interesting news emerged around Liverpool and Bradley Barcola. Now, this report first was broken in French reports, and essentially they revealed that Liverpool have been expressing an interest in the services of Bradley Barcola. Now, there's a lot of, I don't want to say conflicting news emerging around this story. It's not as conflicting as you think. Maybe Liverpool are trying to be a bit more discreet right now. As we know, they did have a 110 million bid rejected for Isak. Isak has been refusing to train. I think he has been punished by Eddie Howe at the moment. Newcastle are adamant they want 150 million to sell him, and that'll be one of the big moves to watch out for. So I guess it makes sense that Liverpool are going to explore potential alternatives in case a deal for Isak doesn't go through, and allegedly they would probably reinvest into signing someone down the left wing. Now, I need to refer back to the conflicting reports, because reports in the UK revealed that Liverpool in fact don't want to block the pathway for the incredible Rio Nguoma. I'm a Chelsea fan. I was bitterly disappointed that he left. I understand that it was the player and his family's decision, but as a Chelsea fan, I'll always think if the environment contextually at the time, you know, did kind of reinforce to the best Cobham grads that, listen, you're still part of this, you know, forget signing, I don't know, like Gabriel Meck, who were targeting at the time, or maybe forget signing Kendrick Paez, Nguoma, you're going to be one of the face of the football club. I think he stays. But Liverpool did excellent to capture him, and he's showcasing his gifted, I think, you know, he's got the potential to be one of the best players in the entire league. And what he's showcasing at 16 years old, the growth spurt I've seen from this kid, the dribbling, this guy's going to the top. Does it not make sense to just keep him and use him and not block that pathway? How do you guys feel about that? Share your thoughts and opinions below. But it does seem that maybe Liverpool aren't necessarily ruling out any moves for a Bradley Barcola. As reports here reveal, in recent days, Liverpool decided to accelerate and intensify contacts. With one piece of information in mind, PSG have been communicating to the player's entourage for several months. Barcola is not for sale and he will not leave the club this summer. But is that 100% guaranteed? Because later on, French reports also reveal that realistically there is a 95% chance that he remains, but it's not 100%. And money does talk, and if offers of over 100 million euros were presented, PSG might start thinking. Now, of course, Barcola lost a little bit of his first team status once Kvaratskhelia arrived at PSG last season, but he still played quite a lot of games. And I think when you're a club like PSG, especially with the emphasis on using wide players, right, you need to have an abundance of quality to turn to. It really is that simple. If anything happens to any of the wingers, which is very likely, you need to have someone who is just as good ready on the horizon. And I just think maybe this late in the window, the only player I could see PSG being happy to sell Barcola for would be Rodrigo of Real Madrid. Could they have an opportunity there? Rodrigo is committed to Real Madrid, but at some point, some of these guys like himself and Endrick have to smell the coffee, wake up now. You know, they got Arda Güler, who's rising under Xabi Alonso. You have the young striker Garcia, who's impressed in the Club World Cup. Matson Tuno, one of the best young team players in the world. He will be prioritized a lot too. Again, the only way Barcola goes is if PSG feel like, you know what? I think we can bag Rodrigo, and that could just, bro, that would just take that attack to a different level. So let's watch the space. Let's see what's done. Now, obviously, PSG reports here reveal that maybe if options arrive, they could explore that. He lost his status a little bit when Kvaratskhelia came through. I think we've seen so much of PSG that you can kind of understand why. Even though Barcola is dangerous, will get better, finds himself in great goal scoring situations and bagged over 20 goals last season. Maybe the efficiency rate isn't as ruthless and deadly yet. And now that PSG upgraded, you can see the quality difference in terms of like those minute details in both Guevara's game and Bradley's game, where there was amazing opportunities for Bradley to add to his stat sheet, but he'd miss open goals or get the details wrong with his body mechanics before shooting, or you know, take another touch when he shouldn't have done that, which is normal for someone who's only just 22 years old. You can't forget that. But that's the levels at the very best clubs in the world, right? So let's watch this space. Let's see if anything else materializes, and let's see if Liverpool decide that Barcola might be the best alternative to turn to instead of signing Isak, because I still personally think it'll be very hard here to use both Isak and Ekitike in the same team together. I don't know how that would work. I think that's asking for a lot of work from your guys up front, and can they put that legs in? Do they have that? I'm not sure, my friends. So anyway, share your thoughts and opinions on the biggest stories today. This is Football Transfer News. I'm Nini FC, and I'll catch you guys later with more videos.